Good evening, I'm Mark Seal with your Live Sports World. Barbados all-rounder Dwayne Smith is back in the West Indies setup. Smith, along with fellow Barbadian pacer Fidel Edwards, has received a 2020 selection to the Windies squad to play against England in September. Smith, who has tons of experience in English conditions, having played for county side Sussex, returns after last playing for the West Indies against Zimbabwe in a one-dayer in March last year. He has played 10 tests and 77 one-day internationals and is expected to help carry the batting burden. 4 newcomers in opening batsmen Miles Bascom of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Johnson Charles of St. Lucia, along with all-rounder Nkrumah Bonner of Jamaica and wicketkeeper Derwin Christian of Guyana, have also been called up. Members of the Trinidad and Tobago 2020 squad were not considered for selection due to their participation in the Champions League in India around that same time. Notable omissions from the team include Chris Gale, Kieran Pollard, Dwayne Bravo, Darren Bravo, Lendl Simmons, Ravi Rampal and Adrian Barath. So the full squad reads Darren Sammy captain, Christopher Barnwell, Miles Bascom, Devendra Bishu, Nkrumah Bonner, Johnson Charles, Derwin Christian, Fidel Edwards, Danza Hayat, Ashley Nurse, Andrea Russell, Marlon Samuels, Chris Marsantoki and Dwayne Smith. Now that 14-man squad will play 2 international 2020s on September 23rd and 25th at the Kia Oval in London. Now speaking on MCTV's Sportsmax channel this evening, Chairman of Selectors Clyde Butts said they're looking for specialists going forward.
Certainly if you look at what has been happening in the past couple of games that we have played, where we have left out some of the actual test players out of the T20 squad, and we are looking to build probably a good T20 team. And one has to remember that the World Cup as well is next year in Sri Lanka. So we are also looking at that and trying to build players, give players as much opportunity as possible. So when they do come on to the T20 World Cup, we would have exposed some players so we'd have to pick a good team to represent West Indies in that World Cup.
The fitness of Barbadian Ashley Nurse also came up for discussion, and the chairman of selectors said the off-spinning all-rounder is ready. But he noted that left-arm spinner Solomon Ben still isn't ready from a behavior reform perspective.
Ashley has actually worked very hard over the past 6 months or so once he has been considered to play, and he has played. And I think you certainly see Ashley Nurse that is much fitter than you would have seen in the regional 2020 tournament earlier this year. He has worked on his game and he is actually much fitter than he was before.
Solomon Ben, Mr. Butts, was he available for selection at all, considered?
Solomon Ben, I heard, when you say if he's available, I think Solomon Ben would tell you point blank that he is available for selection. But of course, you know what happened with the last time Solomon Ben went to the World Cup with us. We had some issues with Solomon Ben, and nothing has happened since then to show us that Solomon Ben has actually changed his ways and certainly wants to play for West Indies. I think Solomon Ben, obviously, if those things had not happened, he would have been certainly would have been considered for selection for West Indies. But you know, Solomon has got to show us now that he's changed and he wants to play for West Indies, and he has to go there and do the things that we would love to see him do. I know the board has been trying to put some things in place for him, and one just hope that he can reform and he can start thinking slightly different now and look himself as...
Well, more cricket later on, but now to hockey. Preliminary matches in the Banks Festival continued today at Kensington Oval, and one team to keep an eye on is in the men's competition, Queen's Park from Trinidad and Tobago. They have so far stamped their authority on all opponents they have faced, including the Barbados Defence Force. Watching that game today was CBC's Anne-Marie Burke.
Queen's Park of Trinidad and Tobago in the blue took full command of the Barbados Defence Force in this encounter. So it was no doubt that with just about 2 minutes into the matchup, they would strike. First dibs on the scorecards, 1-0. Not long after, goal number 2 would be added, once again right in front of the goal. Goal number 3 was a one-man effort, faking 2 defenders to smash it in. A penalty corner would do the trick for the fourth goal, although kudos to the BDF's keeper who saved the first attempt but couldn't do it the second time. Another penalty corner and the Trinis were making no joke in stomping their dominance. Keeping things even, this goal was from a long range. 6-0 the score at the half. Maybe this little one could teach the soldiers a thing or two. She was trying her skills from early. Into the second, and Queen's Park pressed on, made that goal number 7. Goal number 8 followed quickly. It was a true lopsided affair. BDF did get a chance at goal, but it went wide. And Queen's Park added another for good measure. Final score 9-0 to the Queen's Park club from Trinidad and Tobago over the Barbados Defence Force. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
Scott Foster was the man in form as the radio-operated auto racers hosted day 4 of their 3rd season at the Garfield Sobers Raceway. Foster, piloting his Wildlife Reserve Hot Bodies D8, won all 3 of the scheduled races and also set a new lap record of 44.93 seconds in the final race. Matthew Left-Ball Whitney, Chris Wadman and Ryan Hill exchanged places on the podium in those 3 races. In the first, Whitney was 2nd with Wadman 3rd. In the second race, it was Wadman in 2nd and Hill 3rd. Then in the final race, it was Whitney and Wadman 2nd and 3rd respectively. Day 5 of the season is set for September 4th. Manchester United have rejoined the leaders of the English Premier League, beating Tottenham Hotspur 3-0 at Old Trafford yesterday. Staying with that sport, there's still uncertainty as to the starting date of professional football in Spain as that strike continues. Back to cricket, as expected, Indian fans are taking the loss of the #1 Test team title very hard. There are mixed emotions in England and India following the whitewashing the Indians took.
England emphatically confirmed their new status as the best team in the world with an innings victory in the 4th and final game at the Oval, a result that completed a 4-0 series whitewash. It was a humiliating defeat for India, for whom cricket is the national sport and practically a religion. Having worked so hard to get to the top, England's captain says they intend to stay there.
I think the greatest pitfall is that kind of feeling like you've done it all and therefore you're not willing to put in the hard work to continue it. You know, I'd be very disappointed if our side fell into that trap. It's certainly not what we're about as a unit, and you know, if there are any signs of it, then it's important that we nip those in the bud.